Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the Thinking Cap podcast. I'm your host, Jack Tipley. I'm joined by our producer, Jake Olinar, and we've got quite the show for you today. And so let's dive right in. Get your thinking caps on. See, I've got my amazing thinking cap that you can order and share on jacktipley.com/the thinking cap. You can go ahead and order your thinking caps for wearing for the remainder of the show, as well as outside of the show. Because it's not about thinking necessarily during the show, during the taping, but it's about thinking about things everywhere you go, no matter where you are. That's what the show is all about. So just to start off, we got a couple of cool announcements for you. Number one, our sponsor is going to be a Guiding Principles of Life poster that I created. So on my social media pages and YouTube shorts, etc., I've been posting, you may have seen, some reels about guiding principles of life. So I decided to put together a poster of some of the guiding principles that I live by personally, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to have helped a lot of people. And so I'd highly recommend those. Some principles like, no matter what you want in life, earn it. And follow your heart's true desire. Some words to live by, especially in today's day and age when morality tends to get thrown out the window sometimes, unfortunately. And so make sure to get that poster over at jacktipley.com/shop. It'll be under my Wearable Humor brand name. More on that at a later date as I roll it out and expand my lineup. So another really exciting announcement is that YouTube, I don't know if you heard about this, Jake, but YouTube is actually rolling out a bunch of new podcasting features. They've hired a executive over at YouTube that is overseeing podcasting. So they have created a bunch of new tools and resources that podcasters can use. We are going to be taking advantage of that, already geared up and ready for that continued rollout, including YouTube Music. I have already labeled our podcast as a podcast. And so soon, I don't know when it's going to roll out in the US, but soon you should be able to go on YouTube Music and find the Thinking Cap podcast. You'll be able to listen to it there. So that's in addition to where we already are right now. We're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, Facebook. That's just the video platforms. On audio, we've got you on Spotify. We've got you on Apple and Google Podcasts. Very exciting stuff. So make sure you follow, subscribe on those social media channels at the Thinking Cap podcast, and we'll get you all of the great content that you are looking for and that you have been thinking about. So today's topic, let's get right into it. We talked about last week technology and how it's advancing so rapidly that we hardly even think about what some of the consequences are. And so today we're going to enter a dream world, as Fresh and Fit might call it. Shout out to Fresh and Fit. A dream
It's a great
world.
podcast. It's a great podcast.
It really is. It really is. Love you guys. So let's go into that dream world. The year is 2020. Excuse me. It's already 2023. 2033. 10 years in the future. The year is 2033. AI has taken over the workforce. Manual labor jobs are not replaced. That's about the only types of jobs that are still working actively. Everybody else is working at home. So your trades are still going on. the technicians, construction. You've got engineers. They're still working. Everyone else, corporate, business, marketing, all that jazz, teachers, they're all online. Everybody's working remotely or not working at all because AI has taken over the workplace and the workforce. So when people are working at all, especially in Western countries, we don't work. We don't have to because artificial intelligence like ChatGPT has taken over what our creative minds should be doing. And so I just want to get your thoughts on that, Jake, of what would happen in such a world where ChatGPT has taken over our creative control, our creative work.
It's interesting, Jack, because me as a content creator, I am very significant and very. Um, I'm known to be more of a controlling person, and I like to take control of things on my own by my own two hands. And hearing some of the work from ChatGPT, I mean, at times, I I can see like the advantages of it, without a doubt. I could also see the I also have my own concerns about it as far as like how to, like you said, like when you mentioned the manual labor jobs, as far as like how society can be advanced. It I mean, what you said last week, what really stuck out to me is, how can we advance as a society if we don't like have that communication with each other, and if we do decide to let go of our two hands and of all things.
Yeah, I mean, communication is definitely going to change, I think, in such a world where everyone's communicating online for the most part. I mean, let's think about what happened during the pandemic as an example. Everyone was inside, isolated. People were communicating remotely and through social media. You're right. How can our society advance is a good question, but I I just wonder what we should classify as advancement too, because
Mm.
our manual labor jobs would still be active in the workforce, and our society would still be advancing economically, hypothetically, if people were working remotely. And so I wonder if we should even classify advancement as cultural advancement. What do you think
Hmm.
about that?
And if it could be considered like a good thing or a bad thing, uh, and could have its like two conflicting sides as well, and cultural advancement, the way we have our own traditions, the way we have our own beliefs, could that be altered at all? So, which is pretty interesting, and we've seen it a little bit already with the COVID-19 pandemic, and especially the way we just we rely on social media, and the effects it can have to our mental health, being uh, health as a result of being inside all the time. And we've seen some instances of that, especially in the last 3 years.
I agree, and it's very very concerning seeing what happened during the pandemic and its effects on our culture. And you mentioned mental health. I just wanted to mention I recently heard about a study that mental health drug prescription prices have been rising ever since the pandemic, especially the last couple of years.
Hmm.
And part of that is because of the demand. Right? Prices rise because of higher demand. Higher demand means higher prices. How are people going to pay for those drugs if their jobs are replaced by AI? They're not going to.
They're not going to.
All
Yeah,
right, so then
it would be nearly
the
impossible, really.
demand,
So.
oh yeah, then the demand could steadily decrease, but in reality, it's just too expensive because the demand is so high, and so it becomes rather inflationary in a way. It it deems these medical interventions and these prescriptions as not attainable, and so our mental health is going to suffer even more, and will be even could be even more isolated and more lonely. I know for me, going into a online world, and I wasn't exactly working. Well, I was an online orientation leader um, for university when pandemic hit, but I was mostly a full-time student, and even then, just working from home, it was isolating. It was
Mm-hmm.
very tough, and I think a lot of people had similar experiences. What was your experience like during the pandemic? What happened?
It's interesting because literally that that season, I just transferred from Oakton Community College, where you and I both went to Columbia College in downtown Chicago, uh, January of 2020. So that was literally my first semester in a full 4 year university. And when everything went down by March, when the when you hear all the news and the amount of deaths that occurred, that you heard, and by that, I think it was that Wednesday when you heard from uh, various agencies that sports and concerts were getting canceled. I'll never forget when the NBA canceled, when the NBA postponed their season, rather, and it was like a culture shock to me as a diehard sports fan, and then to find out the next morning that we're not at classes are going to be canceled in person, and finding out, like, later that next week we're gonna have that. We are already going to have that spring break that was already planned, and then it was decided by the administration the next week that we're all going to be online, and that was actually the first time I found out about Zoom and Riverside and Microsoft Teams. These ways that we can communicate and at least have classes like online. But yeah, it was such a cultural shift in the way how I was able to learn, moving from entirely in person to online for the time being. And trust me, like, I've had my instances where I've become so tired of it after many months of online learning. As for me that has majored in broadcasting and uh, who has a television production background, it's very difficult to learn when you're at home. And at times, like, you got and at times, like, like our programs, we got to be in there in person in the studio setting up everything, and shooting our projects, and it has to be like a team collaboration effort, and it's been very difficult to find out that we won't be able to do that. So, and trying to rent out equipment and trying to doing uh, these very careful steps to what we can do to help achieve our like help achieve our goals. And it was so at times it was very frustrating for myself, for someone who's involved in film and television. So I mean, yeah,
I
it's
hear you.
I can definitely say it was definitely frustrating at times, Jack.
Yeah, I hear you. And couple of interesting thoughts there I just had was, isn't it interesting how the right solutions came to light as soon as the pandemic hit? As soon as the
Hmm.
pandemic hit, all of a sudden, oh, we've got the solutions for you already. Here's Zoom, here's YouTube, here's this, then the other. Here's all these solutions for you. Yes, we took some time, a couple of weeks, a couple of months to figure things out, but the solutions were already there. And I don't know how much profit Zoom made from all that, but I'll bet that
They've had
did
one hell of a
a
stock
lot
rise.
for them.
They had one hell of a stock rise in the peak of that. I can show
I'm
you
not
that. They
surprised.
yeah they had a hell of a profit during that time. So
Very interesting. So another thought I had there was, in your heart of hearts, and I'll answer this myself too, as I think about it, but would you want to work when you were at home during the pandemic? Did you want to work? Did you want to learn? Was that desire there?
um
Or would
I,
you rather stay at home or didn't do something else?
I'll say this. Probably at the beginning, I would have been okay with just staying at home and relaxing, and just like having those classes like right behind a computer, where I can have like just cook myself a little dinner right afterwards or during a break. But at some point, it could reach at some point it could reach to that point of. I mean, I think the best word of it would be pretty tiring of it, and it could reach the point of loneliness and more isolation. I definitely felt that at least at the next semester in like September, where it got even more frustrating when I do like more advanced classes at Columbia, and when trying to shoot a couple film projects, and I only have to rely on myself to help. Not only that, like help produce and direct, uh, not even close to having a team, and then editing it all myself. It became very frustrating, and the only way that I could learn during that time was just speaking with my professors virtually, and then not being involved in the studio to help complete those capstone projects.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said about those experiences too, is that if we allow AI and chatbots to take creative control of things, or we're working remotely on things that AI for some reason can't do or can't do yet. Is eventually AI can do all of our marketing for us. It can do all the thinking, all the creative work. There'd be no need for thinking caps
Mm-hmm.
anymore because AI would do the thinking for us. That's the direction we're headed, and we could end up seeing. I just worry that we could end up seeing a future kind of like the pandemic, where we are filled with that loneliness and isolation. What would people be doing if they weren't learning, if they weren't working towards something? I know personally, I'm working from home right now. Clearly, I'm in my studio office, but I still can't. I still get lonely at times, and it can be isolating. But I get out at times. I go to the grocery store. I go see family and friends, and but I'm mostly at home, and frankly on social media a lot. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's also part of what I do now. But when I'm not posting, I'm also scrolling, and partially for professional use, but partially for personal use as well.
A
Something
lot
to do,
of
something to
majority
think about.
personal use for me, really, too. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned earlier. I'm curious now. You mentioned earlier that when the pandemic hit, sports events were canceled. and concerts were canceled. I think that that's going to be a difference when and if AI takes over most of the workforce. Is I think people
You
will
think so?
be so lonely that unless there actually is another health pandemic, maybe in the next 100 years or so, but in the next 10, 20 years, etc., I would imagine concerts would be big. Sporting events would continue to grow big because they're big social gatherings, and people are not going to want to stay at home all the time. People are also going to want to get out and go do leisure activities. They're going to want to go snowboarding, skateboarding, or wakeboarding, whatever other
Yeah,
boards people like to
working out in
ride.
general, really. Trying to manage their health and trying to work out their health as well. So and their well being.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic I'd have to think about. Is I don't know what I mean. Certainly, when we're isolated and lonely and stressed, our immune system goes down.
Yeah, so that's a good point right there. How was it for you personally? Because you and I were both in the same age group in the same class. I mean, how was it you? Because you also transferred from Oakton around the same time that I was too.
Yeah, so I actually started university a semester earlier than you. I started in the the fall of 2019. And
Right.
so I got some on campus experience. Personally, I did not like it. Just my experience with the university was not great for me personally. So I didn't mind being virtual for the rest of the college experience.
Just to say,
However,
there's a reason why Jack is avoiding to say what the school is because I know
yes,
because
yes,
we've had
there is.
well we've had we don't
Yep,
want to
but
cause anyone trouble. So
yep, yep, but if you do some digging, I'm sure you can figure it out. But anyways, so I didn't mind educational wise being online. However, I I realized very quickly into that spring and fall semester. Spring semester 2020 was just very chaotic. You know,
mm,
luckily I was able to finish just fine. But that following fall semester, I took a hit in some classes, did not do as well academically. And I think
mm,
part of that was because I was so isolated, because I was missing that community aspect. You know, when I was at Oakton, for example, I was very active in the community, and that lifted me up, that encouraged me, that motivated me to excel and to keep going, keep growing academically as well. And so I
right.
finished with about a 3.5 or greater GPA. I was incredibly proud of that. Um, but I took a hit when I went to the university level, especially online. It was not a great impact on me. But I did rise to the occasion. I did finish both degrees. I got my bachelor's, I got a BA in philosophy and a BA in general business administration in the 2 years following community college. And so I still stuck with the program, stuck with the 5 classes per semester plus one or two online over the summer. Well, yeah, online. They were going to be online anyways, but it was still online. Yeah, it was interesting. I would not want to do that again necessarily
Wow.
unless I was working in person somewhere, unless I was getting out of the house, unless I was taking care of a family or doing something with other people socially more than just one day a week. to get out there and to socialize. We're social beings. That's another part of all this is if we let AI consume us, the technology consume us, and we let the AI take over our creative thinking, our creative control, we're not going to want to think, we're not going to want to do, we're just going to want to socialize and live our lives. But that circles back to your point before of how can we advance our society, how can we advance our culture, how can we advance our intellect when the desire and the need to critically think and to practice and implement the skills that I want to say, value today, but even today, we aren't valuing a lot of those basic skills. For example, being able to utilize technology effectively,
Mm.
Microsoft Office, Google, Apple, etc. A lot of us have grown up now in an era where we have learned those skills from elementary, from middle school, but those are skills that can still be valuable in out there in other jobs as well, and it's not necessarily taken advantage of. But I suppose that's not a great example. I think a better example would be skills like trade jobs, where that's not going away anytime soon. That even if I can't imagine. Can you imagine if we had an AI robot physically go into your home and fix your plumbing?
I wouldn't trust it at all.
Would you trust
Absolutely
that?
not.
Would you trust a robot fixing your plumbing?
I no, 100% no. 0% really. I wouldn't trust that at all.
No, no, that would be very interesting. Imagine if they had a camera. Whew,
That would
that
have
would
made it even
not
worse.
be. That would not be good. We got to be wary of these things. We got to be
We got to be
wary
worried.
of.
Yeah, yeah, we got to be worried. Sorry to interrupt, but we got to be worried about how what the government offers us things. I mean, if you want if the government says like we want to help you, just be careful because you're going to lose some of that control that you want. And then yeah, we are already seeing a lot of it with 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 some minor things like with security cameras in each street corner, and we're quote unquote safety. So I've had my concerns of it too.
The government says they want to help you. Do you want to accept that help?
Mm, I'll be very wary of it. So yeah, it'll be
And
very concerning.
rightfully so. We got to be very,
You got to
very
question
alert and
that
aware.
very hardly, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah, it's now worrying me that we need, in order to combat a lot of this, we need to be very aware of what is going on in society. And unfortunately, as vast of an impact as social media is having, most people are still not aware. We've got these amazing, ungodly communication platforms now, and but people are consuming this content like it's an addiction, and they're consuming this content without even thinking about what that content necessarily is. We're scrolling through reels and stories and watching these videos about cats, about people at home, about bears attacking humans, or these
Yeah,
just odd, funny
sometimes even
sometimes.
worse. sometimes even worse, useless stuff, more useless stuff, like signing up for OnlyFans and just scrolling whatever pleasures you'll get out of it. It's
Oh yeah, that
yeah,
guys, if you're you're doing if you're going on OnlyFans, get off. Get off now. Whew, that
it's not doing you any good. Like it's not doing
no.
you, it's not doing me any good. It's just it just decreases your communication skills and your like the way you try to attract people, and just it just keeps you more isolated if you just constantly just looking up pleasurable stuff that you shouldn't be looking at.
Oh yeah, but it's interesting you say that because now my thought went to of course I don't condone OnlyFans at all, but in my mind I'm now thinking maybe at least they are actual women earning money and doing that kind of work versus if it was AI.
Hmm.
Imagine imagine if they were just videos created by ChatGPT and they weren't real. That would be even worse. So in a way, I'm actually glad that it is the way that it is now, even though it's doing absolutely nobody any good for our culture.
Yeah, and our even
That's
our
an
critical thinking
interesting.
skills too. Yeah.
Yeah, I I read another article or saw another video actually that kids in China want to grow up in engineering and AI related jobs, while kids in the United States and other Western countries, what do they want to do? They want to grow up to be a YouTuber like me, like us, and they want to be social media vloggers, and that just gets me wondering, thinking about, geez, 10, 15, 20 years from now, what if China is creating the artificial intelligence that Western countries are using so that they don't have to work anymore? What kind of an impact would that have on politics, on the world, on our country, on our society? It's
Ha- have you ever read
incredible.
the Have you ever read the book 1984 by Orson Welles?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's kind of like similar to that, kind of like that Big Brother type of aspect where you have just the sense of someone's watching over you at all times, and you want to let someone higher up just do the stuff for you, and having all this overwhelming amount of technology uh just uh just taking over, um just the meaningful and the more organic types of communication and work that and at least that people should at least have their play a part of. So I mean, it was a really like eye opening book, and kind of similar to like our culture today. I mean, that book was written like in the early 20th century, and then how it like foreshadowed many of the stuff we see today with this overwhelming amount of technology and surveillance too.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
definitely
what.
recommend reading that. Definitely recommend to the folks listening to go out of your way and just go out of your way and check out that book and some read some excerpts on it. So
Excellent. I'll tell you what. Those of you on audio or video, I'll put a link in the description to Amazon, 1984, the book, right? 1984.
yep, mm-hmm.
All right. Check out the link in
1984
the
by
description.
yeah, written by George Orwell, I should say. So
George who?
George Orwell,
George Orwell.
Orwell.
Excellent. I think I've heard of that name before myself. Very good. Make sure to check out that book. Now, another thing I was thinking about is the role of formal education in this kind of AI driven society. Now, teachers could end up working remotely, but even they eventually could be replaced by the likes of YouTube, online education. I would imagine eventually, not saying this should be the case, but I could imagine a world, a future, in which teachers are replaced by AI. Um, Educational institutions today are going would go fully online, or at least the majority online, and everybody's learning from home. Everyone's watching videos, especially if there are no entry level jobs to to start gaining some work experience, like customer service, let's say. There isn't going to be a way, an effective, meaningful way for students and others who are just starting off or starting fresh or new in the workforce trying to earn some money. They're not going to have a way in, and they're going to be stuck at home. They're going to be unemployed. Unemployment could be significantly higher. People will be not even, you won't even need to learn from YouTube, because even YouTube videos nowadays, there are AI systems, software that allow you to create videos from thin air, essentially. Yes, a lot of the creative work right now is going into asking the right questions, but you can ask very simple questions, get very simple tasks, like create a YouTube script about yada yada yada. And then you can put that into a script writer. You can put that into a voiceover writer. You can put that into a video generating editor, and you can essentially create whole videos out of thin air. A lot of YouTubers are already doing that, and they're already profiting off of it. And it's part of it is smart, but another part of it, the culture aspect of it, is who are we learning from? We're learning from artificial intelligence that gets their information from a compilation of sources from all across the internet. That is going to be very interesting to see how all of that plays out. Because if YouTube is automated eventually, but it's not going to be, I don't imagine it would be fully automated, because if we have a lot of people at home working from home, um, you're going to probably see a even larger rise in content creators, just like we saw during the pandemic, just like we continue to see today. So I don't imagine YouTube going away anytime soon as far as individual content creation and original content creation. But there's still going to be a rise of this, of AI creating the videos and creating social media posts and reels, that who's supplying that information, and it's compilations from all over the internet. But I could imagine a lot of people in the background taking advantage of that and pushing whatever agendas, whatever message they want to push to you. And the matrix, as we live in today, could be easily expanded with the use of AI. And it can be scary sometimes. We need to be informed. We need to be aware. I think a good start is this individual content creation, because so many people are spending time online, maybe instead of pushing content about cat videos, which, first of all, content that is pushed out on social media platforms is pushed out because people want to see it, because the demand is there. So if
Yeah.
we can stop our desire to watch these useless, again, sometimes funny, which is great from time to time, but to spend hours watching this useless information, these useless videos, that's what's detrimental. So if we can continue to push out content made by individual contributors, I think it's a good start to getting people at least thinking critically about what is going on in our society, in the world, in our culture. First step to solving any problem is recognizing there is one. If people don't know that there's a problem, we're not going to fix it.
Preach. That's good. It's very good.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a great place to end there too. On that note, get informed, stay thinking, keep thinking about things critically. Make sure to order your thinking caps again at jacktemporary.com/the thinking cap. You'll also be able to get all of your links to other platforms there. Make sure to follow us at the Thinking Cap podcast on all of your favorite platforms. Again, YouTube, we're on Rumble, Facebook, we're even on LinkedIn, and audio, we've got you on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Make sure to like the videos, because that is what is getting the platforms to push the content out to more people. We're talking about today, right? We got to get this individual content creation out there, get people informed, get people
Yep.
thinking.
Absolutely.
This is what it's all about.
It's all
So you
about. This
like
is what
what
it's
you
all
hear,
about.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you like what
Absolutely.
you hear, click that like. Get
And if you
get
guys give
get it
us
out.
like an honest review, give us some of your feedback. Like give us an honest review if you guys like it. If there's something we can work on, please please explain it to us. So we'll be absolutely be open to any feedback that you're willing to give us. So yeah, I mean this is an important time in our society, and just to give out the important information, and more than that, it's like it's really important to all y'all listening, just continue to love each other, and just don't bring yourself into the negativity all the time. Just like continue to support one another, your friends, your family, be those be with your loved ones, because like the time is still there for you.
I love that. Great message. So if you want to follow me on social media and YouTube, make sure to go to at Jack Temperley Plus. Get all of my content. I'm posting clips of the Thinking Cap podcast on my public channel at Jack Temperley on YouTube, and shorts will be on those other social media platforms as well. Jake, do you have any social media platforms you want to plug?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to follow any of my random takes, whether it's life or sports or any nerdy stuff, you can follow me at Jake Allnar on Twitter. And Jack, I mean, thanks so much for having me again this week.
All right, you're very welcome. Happy to have you. Keep thinking, people. We'll see you on the next episode.